The uranium market looks like it might be on the rebound. In this video, I'm going to be going over some very interesting facts not a lot of people are looking at in uranium, and I'm going to cover a uranium stock, recent updates with the company that I think is very big, especially because not really any of their competitors are doing this in the sector, and that's very bullish for me. Please hit that like and subscribe button below, and it's really nice to see these uranium stocks start to turn around. If you want to look at the uranium stocks, these are the ASX stocks. Most of the bigger uranium stocks in Australia were up very big today. Majority of those, a few of the explorers and a couple of the developers were down. But if you can see here, it's looking pretty good. This recovery, like I thought, a lot of people were worried with the overall market. A lot of people took some profits, sold, but they're coming back. This was yesterday's actual close for a lot of the uranium stocks in the OTC. Very, very small volume compared to what we've seen before. But just note that ever since those OTC rules actually changed, we do see the market spreads a lot higher. I've noticed level 2 is a little bit different, but just, you know, those are usually pegged to, say, the Australian sector, the parent stocks, say like DYLLF, or, you know, looking at another one, maybe even in Canada, Anfield. Usually these are pegged to the version where the stock is originally listed. So those stocks, you know, sometimes they can have really big spreads and, you know, be up or down like crazy. As you can see this yesterday, DYLLF was up 2%. You know, today they're up even more, 5% here in Australia, as you can see. So, you know, you'll see a little bit of that variation, but overall stock market, it's recovering. You know, the futures right now are green, and if you see a lot of the, you know, uranium stocks that are on the big boards, they actually have very little volume, but they are green. They're not selling off, so that's good. And I'm going to go over exactly why a lot of people might be speculating. Something very interesting happened though yesterday, and this was Elon Musk being pro-nuclear. Now, I knew Elon was, you know, pro-nuclear for a while. I've watched a lot of interviews on him over the years, and he always thought that, you know, nuclear power plants that were in the right areas, you know, shouldn't be shut down, is basically what he's saying. You know, those, you know, that are susceptible to extreme natural disasters, obviously those, you know, they should rebuild them and, you know, relocate those. You know, we saw that with Fukushima. A lot of these nuclear power plants, some of them even in the United States, were built on fault lines. You know, so they are at risk, some of them, but a lot of those they've already, you know, shut down for the most part. And, you know, a lot of them really never had any issues. But Elon Musk, what was interesting about this, I'm going to get into this real quick. Now, a lot of people think Elon sometimes, he obviously trolls, but a lot of times, you know, his tweets, whenever he posts these, which he schedules them, some of them could mean certain things. Now, what I noticed, and this is the first time I've ever heard about it, you know, I saw this and, you know, I put it out there. So it's probably the first time you've probably heard it too, unless you follow me on Twitter. But Elon said, you know, that unless susceptible to extreme natural disasters, nuclear power plants should not be shut down. Well, he posted this at 1:11 p.m., which 1:11, okay, might sound like a conspiracy, but 1:11 usually means an awakening, which I thought was pretty, you know, neat. A lot of people follow him, new followers, you know, probably see this side of him, and they're probably looking at, you know, nuclear power is, you know, a viable option possibly, you know, at least looking into it. The second thing is he posted this yesterday on the 8th of December. Well, the 8th of December was very big for not just the nuclear power energy sector for the whole world, but it was exactly the same thing happened with Eisenhower, Dwight D. Eisenhower. It was December 8th, 1953, and he brought the atomic issues to the public eye. And, you know, this was really to help solve this fearful atomic dilemma is what he called it. So it was an awakening, which was really, really crazy because, you know, if we look back at this, the Atoms for Peace speech that he gave, you know, it really was to give nuclear power to the world, to hospitals, schools, you know, really where we should be going. Now, they use it in hospitals a lot, you know. It's really good, obviously, for nuclear medicine and things like that. But, you know, research, all these other things, it was to show the world that it can be very, you know, helpful, and it can really help us in our future. So that's really what that was about. Now, this speech, you know, if you want to go listen to it, you can look it up. Very interesting. I've listened to it, and it's very similar, you know, to the Outlook Elon put on the same day at 1:11, an awakening. It's probably just a coincidence, but, you know, the overall market, if we're looking at, you know, commodities, everything in the energy sector is really up high this year. We're looking at gas is going over 400% there in the UK again. And also in the US, you know, coal's over 100% this year. And that's something we're looking to get rid of. Now, you know, nuclear power is something we definitely need. And another thing, I actually tweeted this. I said, this was a couple days ago, Elon's ex, you know, partner, Grimes, if you don't know her, she's actually pretty cool. She likes swords too, by the way. And she was very pro-nuclear. And this was her, you know, she was actually against them shutting down the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant. And this is obviously, you know, there in California. I filmed a movie there, near there. Really nice place. But she's, you know, against them shutting it down. So fair enough. The next day, who posts, just like I said would happen possibly? It was Elon. So this was, you know, very interesting. And here's basically that on the 7th, you know, before he even did this. But what I want to get at is Elon Musk not only is the richest man in the world, but a lot of people, you know, look to him for policy in some ways. Like they, you know, a lot of not necessarily older generation, but newer generation, you know, they're listening to him. Nuclear power could be a part of his future. And there's a possibility, you know, we've got not only the other richest men in the world pushing new SMRs out there, like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett there. If you see here, this is in Wyoming. $4 billion nuclear power plant. Now they're converting this one from coal. So this new reactor is a lot safer. It's going to have less of a chance to melt down because, you know, they use, it says here, the proposed plant uses uranium to heat liquid sodium metal to about 900 degrees only. So this natrium is an old word for sodium, which then makes steam to power a turbine to generate electricity. So the thing is, this using liquid sodium instead of the traditional high pressure coolant allows this reactor to operate at lower pressure, in theory, making it less likely to suffer a meltdown. You know, it doesn't get as hot. You know, it's pretty simple. They cool these down with water. You can jump in the tank with them, you know, and get within a couple feet of it. And the water's not toxic or anything, you know, around this reactor. It's really neat stuff. And I think, you know, this is still very old technology. This is nothing new. I think we need someone like Elon who really can, you know, kind of change the game in a sense and, you know, look at new ways to utilize these SMRs. And, you know, there are companies out there looking at this, you know, literally meltdown proof fuel. But this, you know, this in a sense, we've seen a bounce back in uranium stocks. You know, I said it in my last video. I was like, you know, the market's overreacting to this more than likely. People are taking profits. And, you know, the last day, a lot of these stocks are up like crazy. The week, a lot of them are recovering as well. You know, and if you just look down here, everything since SPUT is up a lot, you know, 50, 100%, 150% in some of these. So we're just getting started. You know, Sprott Physical Uranium Trust is just getting started. You know, the spot price, we're still up, you know, close to 40%. And, you know, really with the way things are going, if we get any news in a sense that Elon is going to be building or working with an SMR like the other billionaires out there, I think that is a massive catalyst, and you'll probably see more funds, you know, within the next few months after that flow into uranium, in my opinion, than you will in the last 18, 20 months. And that's just because there's a cult-like following to Elon. Love him or hate him, you know, you know, he's not only the richest man in the world, so he can influence, you know, policies and change things, you know, but he is a smart guy, and he puts his money where his mouth is. You know, it's like he's very possible to buy out a lot of some of these old coal plants and transition them. He might even build an SMR there in Austin and some of his factories. Now he has the German factory, a lot of these battery factories there in Germany, these plants, and they're looking to get rid of all their nuclear power plants. So maybe he can influence them. That's just a great person to obviously have, in your, on your side, on the fight against, whether you think climate targets, are unsustainable or are unattainable, which I think they can be, but we need nuclear power. I think that, we can get rid of a lot of the dirty coal plants and things of that nature and really transition them. I think it'd be great. And the new small modular reactors for Elon, this would be massive for space travel. NTPs are double the nuclear thermal propulsion, like spacecraft in space could get to Mars or the moon in half the time, maybe even faster with new technology. This technology is not old, or is not, new. It's very old. NASA was doing this, since before the 50s. So one of the other things right now, we've been talking about it on my channel. What's very important is the environment, getting people to support, your mining. If you're a uranium miner, explorer and developer, you're wanting to get a mine up. And DYLLF is far ahead of many other companies. So they just released this 2021 sustainability report. Now, they've actually won a bunch of awards for this ESG type stuff there in Africa, all over, a couple there in Australia as well, because the company is well managed. This is not just any exploring company in uranium. And John Borshoff said this. He said it the best. He said, "We now completed our second annual sustainability report following the inaugural report published last year. As previously noted, DYLLF is still considered an advanced exploration company, and reports such as this are not generally seen at this stage of a company's life cycle." And that's true. You go look at not just any other, uranium company there in, say, out of Australia, in Africa, Namibia, but you can also look to Canada. A lot of these explorers, developers, they're not even close to doing what, if you read in this report, some of the environmental and the support that they have, the environmental concerns, tests that they've done, the backing of the community, all the things that they're doing, to help. The government is very, very on board there in Namibia with not only John Borshoff, and the company providing jobs, and, there in Africa, this is like a key pillar to a lot of the countries there, uranium mining. And it's something that they're far ahead, I think, than if you compare them to Canada. Doesn't mean Canada is bad, but, this company, when I look at this and look at a lot of these things, they really do care about their shareholders. They really do care about the environment. They care about their people. And they've done it before. This management's done it before. I'm just kind of going through this. You can see that they really do care about the environment, and they're putting it out there. And it is an exploration company. This, this would be a check mark that I would compare it to majority of the explorers out there. 9 out of 10 are not even close to this, just as John said. And, they've done all these tests. And this is very important for a company like this, DYLLF, that is looking to be a multi-jurisdiction, uranium company that's going to produce this cycle. This is very important, especially if they get that Mulga rock from Vimy Resources there in Australia. They're going to need a team like this. And I think this is if any of the shareholders out there from Vimy are looking at this and listening to John Borshoff and the team, you can see that this is the type, look at the support, that they have, and that the support they're giving to the community there in Namibia. They're supporting vultures there in Namibia. And this is something that the team there at DYLLF actually, they actually care about. Now, if you look at, say, the same issues there at Mulga Rock for Vimy, they're facing, criticism for some of these, I believe, mice, out there in the desert, these like desert mice. And they're going to need a team like this that, they're delivering food. People might say, oh, this is patting them on the back, but a company, patting themselves on the back, but a company like this at this stage, this to me looks like a major producer, in some of the things. And it's great to see this. If I'm investing in a uranium company, I want to be in a uranium company, as you can see, that's very conscious about the environment, that's very supportive of the local communities, and has less pushback, in the jurisdiction they're in. And this team here, John Borshoff, he's not going to let you down, I don't believe. This is just my opinion. Obviously, this is not financial advice, but my money is on a team like this that has, they're well ahead, not only in a lot of areas with getting permits and where they want to be, but they do care about, obviously, the environment, the community, and it is nice to see. So it's very likely, we're still, if you want to look at the uranium stocks here real quickly, most of these are still Australian uranium stocks, Australian listed, that are the top gainers since the lows in March of 2020. They've held their ground. I've seen some comments, I believe it was on Twitter. People were saying that maybe that, Canadian ones are undervalued more right now because of this. And no, it's because the most important thing for a company that's mining is to get into production, to secure long-term contracts, to produce. And majority of these companies on here that are not listed specifically in jurisdictions that are very supportive, especially the red ones down here, some of these red ones, you're going to see, pushback from the environment, from the communities there. You're looking at Greenland Minerals, uranium's banned there. So my point is, we're at this point in the cycle, as I said before, my main thesis for investing at this point, and it does change, is management, those that can get into production with permits very soon. And, this market has been, showing people that, if you're a professional trader, and that's probably why we've seen the crazy volatility, professional traders are probably swinging a lot of these stocks. A lot of these stocks have had, massive moves up and down, up and down. But with me, long-term, if I look back at all of my trading long-term, if I just sat there, I wouldn't have wasted, the time, the stress levels, and I would have done a lot better. And Rick Rule said the same thing recently. He said that, if he would have just put, in the top 10 people that he knew in, say, the uranium sector, the mining uranium, he wouldn't, and not tried to trade it and speculate in too many and overtrade, he would have done, double, triple, I think he said, than what he did, profits wise, and he would have had more time and he wouldn't have stressed. So I take the same approach. Long-term, uranium, in my opinion, is going to be going up. If you can see, the demand is going up. The supply is running lower and lower. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, I think once we get into this first quarter of next year, they're going to be buying a lot more spot uranium off the market. They've been very quiet lately. If they haven't even been, buying any, it's only been 100,000 pounds. We haven't seen the volume back yet with that premium. I think, like I said, next year, that's going to come up. It's going to be a lot higher. And, we're probably going to see a run in spot uranium again. And if we get that timed with long-term contracts, it's going to be a heck of a ride for 2022.